My name is Ivy Wallfield, and my curiosity project is on sleep and dreams in vertebrates. Sleep can be defined behaviorally and physiologically. Behaviorally, sleep is a period of reduced activity in a species-specific posture. It results in a decreased responsiveness to external stimuli, and it is a relatively easily reversible state. Physiologically, sleep has characteristic eye movements, muscle tonation, and cortical rhythms as monitored by an EEG. Physiological demands such as brain activity, breathing, and heart rate are reduced, and temperature and blood pressure drop. Humans will spend about a third of their lives sleeping, and many mammals sleep more than humans. It is thought that the major function of sleep is the same in all animals. Researchers think this function is related to the brain, since that's the body part most affected by the lack of sleep. Sleep also increases the release of growth hormone, and physiological activities associated with digestion, cell repair, and growth are usually greatest during sleep, which suggests that sleep is important for cell repair and growth. However, research is still being done to determine the exact reason we sleep. Multi-stage sleep, meaning deep sleep and REM sleep, could have been present in a common ancestor of mammals, birds, reptiles, and fish, stretching 450 million years back in evolutionary time. It is likely that amphibians share this trait as well, since they're closer related to humans than fish. Whatever it is that dozing is doing, if it really did evolve this long ago and stuck around in so many species, that points to something essential. It's difficult to tell if it's the same in non-human vertebrates, but some animals can actually die from sleep deprivation. REM sleep is a marked transition from delta and theta waves of slow-wave sleep to higher frequency alpha and beta waves, as well as desynchronized patterns. REM sleep has two variables, tonic and phasic. Tonic occurs throughout the REM period and involves somatic muscle atonia, except the diaphragm, and yields a desynchronized EEG, which is just a test that measures electrical activity in your brain. The phasic variable occurs intermittently during the REM period and is characterized by middle ear muscle activity and extremity twitches. Now, REM sleep behavior disorder occurs when the REM sleep stage is incomplete, so all the elements are present except for atonia. This means the brain will permit motor activity that parallels dream mentation generated by the activated REM sleep state. The motor activity could be from either impaired tonic REM muscle atonia or increased phasic locomotor drive during REM sleep. A study found that REM sleep behavior disorders were related to decreased blood flow in the upper portion of the frontal lobe and the pons, which correlates with information I will share later about removing the pons in other species. There are two forms of REM sleep behavior disorder, acute and chronic. Acute is usually medication-induced or associated with their withdrawal. Chronic is idiopathic in 25 to 60% of cases, which means it's related to another disease or condition that arises spontaneously, and it also means that this will eventually manifest other symptoms of different neurodegenerative disorders. Mammals and birds, besides humans, have two broad categories of cortical activity, the first being REM and the second being non-rapid eye movement sleep. So the non-rapid eye movement sleep is characterized by high amplitude, low frequency waves, characterized by slow delta and theta cortical waves, and this is also called slow wave sleep. Many animals' brains follow the same series of sleep stages as humans. Marine mammals have something called unihemispheric sleep. Technically speaking, unihemispheric sleep displays only slow-wave sleep oscillations, lacking an REM stage. Species such as the bottlenose dolphin have a voluntary respiratory system, which means part of their brain must be alert to trigger each breath. This means they can only rest half of their brain at a time. Unihemispheric sleep is when only half of the brain, so one hemisphere, is asleep. With only one hemisphere asleep, the other can still control movement, breathing, and sight out of one eye. The awake side can also watch for predators, obstacles, and other animals, as well as signal when it's time to rise to the surface for a breath. Roles will reverse after about 2 hours, allowing both sides to rest. Some migratory birds also have unihemispheric sleep, so they can fly long distances without stopping, so the alpine swift does this. A recent study describing REM sleep and slow-wave sleep in bearded dragons made it the first study on reptiles of this kind. This study suggested that brain sleep dates to at least the evolution of amniotes, which is the beginning of the colonization of terrestrial land masses by vertebrate animals. Overall, the study found that lizard sleep seemed a lot simpler than the sleep of humans, and thus must be closer to the ancestral mode of brain sleep. So on to the dream portion. What is a dream? If you Google the word dream, it will tell you that it's a series of thoughts, images, and sensations occurring in a person's mind during sleep. During REM sleep, which is the stage most associated with dreaming, there is an increase in the firing rate of most neurons throughout the brain, as compared to non-REM sleep. The brain can actually be more active during REM sleep than when we are awake. Patterns of brain activity during REM are more random and variable, similar to being awake, which is likely what underlies the intense dreaming that happens in this state. When in an awake state, our thoughts are logical, but when we're asleep, our thoughts or dreams make little sense. There's a chance that they may be triggered by emotional centers. There's no proof, but dreams are usually autobiological thoughts based on our recent activities, conversations, or issues in our lives. In humans, REM sleep behavior disorders may lead to punching, kicking, leaping, running from bed during attempted dream enactment, and often results in injury to the person with the disorder or a person sleeping with them. There are a few theories on why we have dreams. Some of the popular ones are that they may help us confront emotions from our day-to-day lives. It's been suggested that we may make connections while unconscious that we may not make while we're conscious. They could be fight or flight training. The part of the brain associated with the fight or flight response is called the amygdala, and it's active during dreams, suggesting that your brain's getting you ready for a fight. But don't worry, the brainstem also sends nerve signals in REM sleep to relax your muscles, so you won't be fighting anyone. Muse. What I mean by this is that dreams may facilitate creative tendencies. So we have no logic filter when we're dreaming, so our minds are free to imagine things that we might not while we're in an awake state. Dreams may also help store important memories and things you've learned, get rid of unimportant memories, and sort through complicated thoughts and feelings. Memories are formed in two stages, while the experience is happening and when the experience is turned into a long-term memory, which is the part that they think happens during sleep. Tests have shown that both rats and humans are better at recently learned tasks after a period of sleep, supposedly proving that the task was turned into a long-term memory, causing the subject to perform it better. So you might be wondering, what about nightmares? First of all, what are they? They're a frightening or upsetting dream that may be caused by stress, anxiety, or reaction to medications. If they occur frequently, it may be a sleeping disorder. Sleeping disorders can cause anxiety about going to sleep, lead to frequent disruptions of your sleep, and tend to bring about other sleeping or physiological problems. Night terrors are similar, but they occur during non-rapid eye movement sleep. What are some of the things that influence our dreams? Health conditions, which can include how much or how little sleep you get. The more restless your sleep, the more vivid your dreams will be, and the more likely you are to remember them. Pregnancy often causes more vivid dreams due to an increase in hormones. Mental health disorders, such as depression, anxiety, and bipolar disorder, often lead to disturbing or negative dreams, and the medications associated with these disorders can also lead to nightmares. There's no solid evidence that eating different foods will affect your dreams, but it's thought that mood impacts dreams, so if you eat something that causes you to wake frequently throughout your REM sleep, then you're more likely to remember your dreams. Daily activities such as exercise can impact your dreams as well. A study found that if you exercise in the morning, you'll sleep more soundly at night, and if you do cardio before noon, you'll fall asleep faster and stay in deep sleep longer. This also means you'd be less likely to remember your dreams, as you wouldn't spend as much time in REM sleep. But exercise is also a good way to de-stress, which may correlate with having less nightmares. You'll only remember a dream if you wake up during that dream, so it's suggested that in order to better remember your dreams, you should think about them as soon as you wake up. Before getting out of bed, simply think about your dream until you remember as much as you possibly can. So the big question here is, do non-human vertebrates dream? One study found that rats map out navigational routes to get to food during REM sleep. Brain activity was analyzed as the rats were running through a maze and again when they were asleep. Their brain activity was so similar in the two states that researchers could tell exactly which part of the maze the rat was dreaming about. This study fits with the idea that physical spaces, like the maze, are encoded into long-term memory during REM sleep. In another study, a French neurologist and his team removed the part of a cat's brain that's responsible for paralyzing their muscles during REM sleep. This is the pons that I mentioned earlier. The cats were then able to raise their heads, which suggested they were watching unseen objects. They arched their backs and appeared as if they were stalking prey and getting into fights. I found another article that did a similar study, and it said the cats were actually walking around and behaving aggressively. A separate study found that zebrafish experience a Piscean equivalent of REM. During human sleep studies, there will be sensors recording brain activity, heart rate, breathing, and muscle movements, but this isn't possible for fish because they're in water and they continue to move when they sleep. So instead, researchers bred a fish that was transparent so they could see the organs in a non-invasive way. They used fluorescent markers in cells to light up with electrical signals, and what they found was that zebrafish resembled deep sleep in humans. They also experience REM, but their eyes do not move, which is similar to many mammals. Another study monitored brain activity in zebra finches while singing and then again while they were asleep. The brain activity was practically the same, meaning the researchers could tell which part of the song the birds were dreaming about. This study also provided further evidence that removing part of the brain that paralyzes animals during REM sleep makes them move as if they were acting out a dream. This behavior has also been seen in dogs. So at the end of all my research, I think the most solid answer to this question is that we still don't know if non-human vertebrates dream. We still haven't gotten human dreams completely figured out, and until we do, we aren't going to figure out other species dreaming. I'm not sure if we'll ever be able to say with 100% certainty that non-human vertebrates dream, simply because they cannot tell us. Many of the studies I read said that research would be ongoing until they gather more information and can produce a more definitive conclusion. But if you're interested, there is some more information on my website at the link provided here.